In today's video, we are going to be talking about angle terminology and completing diagrams. Now, remember what an angle is. An angle is two rays that share a common vertex. All right. So in this case, okay, this would be considered a ray, and this would be considered a ray, and the common vertex they share is right here. Okay. Now, this diagram has different terms or vocabulary that associate with it. And it's really important when we're doing these angle problems that you know the vocabulary when it comes to the types of angles we're referring to. All right. So the first type of angle we're going to explore is the angles that are formed when you have two intersecting lines. All right. The two intersecting lines form these opposite angles here called vertical angles. And vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other when you have two intersecting lines. And they also are congruent in measure. What I mean by congruent means they are equal in measure. All right, so in this case, 135 is this angle. That means B is also going to be 135 degrees. Okay, so the vertical angles are congruent. Now, this angle right here, this pair of vertical angles, a little bit different. These are going to be the same. All right, and what we know from a straight line is actually 180 degrees, because if you think of an angle, right, you got to think of an angle. We talked about 90 degrees with Pythagorean theorem. Another 90 degrees would be 180. All right, it's hard to draw straight angles on here. Let me do it one more time. All right, so we know 90 degrees is a right angle from our Pythagorean theorem, right? And the straight angle right here, that's going to be another 90 degrees. That's going to be 180. All right, and if you go another 90, it's 270. All the way around is 360. So I know a straight line is 180 degrees. So this is 180 degrees. So to figure out what C is, you would take 180 minus 135. So you could use your calculator or do it in your head. I'm usually good in my head, but just to double check, it's going to be 45 degrees. Okay, so this is 45. That means this is also 45 since it's vertical. All these numbers added together should add up to a circle, which is 360. So let's add them all up and see if that's the case. All right, so we have 135 plus 45 plus 135 plus 45, and that is 360. So it does all add up. Okay. Now, another term we want to talk about is what's called adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are the angles formed that share a common ray. So I'm going to use the eraser here. All right, so actually B and C are adjacent, right? B is their C, okay? B is this one right here. They share a common ray, which is right here, and that is called adjacent. So adjacent angles share a common ray or a common side. So in this case, the B and C are B and C. All right, let's take a look at another diagram and get some more terminology in. So it's important you write this stuff down. If you didn't get a chance to do that, pause it and write it down. And I'm going to say vertical angles, I'm just going to write are opposite each other. Okay, let's look at our next diagram. All right, so we have a little box here. We know that box means it's 90 degrees. And it looks like this 90-degree angle is split up into two parts, this part and this part right here. And they are both, again, adjacent. These are both adjacent. They share a common ray, which is that right there. All right. So in order to figure out what this is, we know this whole thing is 90 degrees. And I'm going to cut out the 61. So 90 minus 61, which is 29 degrees. These two angles right here are called complementary angles. These add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. All right, and if you wanted to complete the diagram, you would do 360 minus 90, 360 minus 90 to find this all the way around, which would be 270 degrees. All right. And let's look at the next one. Ooh, okay. We have a straight line. We know that's 180. Again, these are adjacent angles right here. They share a common ray. That's the common ray they share. All right. We know this is 180 degrees, this whole thing right here. It's tough to write sideways. I'm going to write it like this. Boom. Okay. So I know that's 180 degrees. All right. So to figure out what this part is, you have to take 180 minus this little 34 here. So 180 degrees minus 34 is 146. These two angles, right? This one and this one, the 146 and the 34, they are called supplementary angles. All right. Also known as a linear pair. And these angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay. So we've talked about a couple different vocab words, all right? To kind of zoom out here, we talked about vertical angles being opposite each other, and they are congruent, meaning they're equal in measure. Adjacent angles are ones that share a common ray. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. All right. So these two right here would add up to 90 degrees. And supplementary angles or a linear pair would add up to 180 degrees. All right. So those are important terms to know, all right, when we're filling out these diagrams. All right. Let's look at this one. So what I like to usually do first is try to figure out any vertical angles. All right. So this one is 43. That means G is going to be 43 degrees. If this is 131, K is vertical to it, so that one's going to be 131. And it looks like these angles are adjacent and they are a linear pair. They are supplementary with the 131 because you have a straight line here. So in order to do that, you would just do 180 minus 131. That is 49. That means this is also going to be 49 degrees. And if you add all these numbers together, they should be 360. All right, same thing over here. They form a linear pair. They form a straight line. So you do 180 minus 43. 37. Again, all these angles added up together is 360. All right, so I try to find the vertical angles first since those are congruent. Those are easy to figure out. Let's look at another diagram. Come on, zoom in. All right, just do this one. Okay, I know this is 90 degrees. I'm just going to write that in right here. Right? I know this is 180. I know also this is 180 all the way around here, right? This is 180. So to find out this missing part, I have to take 180 minus 41 minus 90 to figure out this one. So what was it again? 41 and 90? That is 49 degrees. Again, you add all these up, they are 360. So 180 minus 41 minus 90 is and 49 degrees. All right, so let's look at the next one. Oof, quite a bit going on here. All right. Again, I always try to look for the vertical angles first. This is a vertical angle with here. So that means this is also going to be 22 degrees. All right. What else can I figure out here? Oh, another vertical angle right here, right? 103. 103. That's easy to figure out. We have a straight line here. Right there. If I drew it correctly, that we have a straight line there, right? We have this part is 103. We have this part is 22. So to figure out this part right here, I have to do 103 or 180 minus 103 minus 22. So 180 minus 103. 5 degrees. All right, so this is 55 degrees. And look at that. Right across from it is its vertical angle right here, F, 55 and F, which is 55 degrees. Add all these numbers together, you'll get 360. That's always a way to check in at the end, okay? All right, last one. Let's look at this one. Ooh, okay. So this is saying we're trying to figure out this whole thing right here, right? Y degrees. All right, this one thing we have to figure out at the end. Okay, right here we have a 90-degree angle. Right, I'm just going to remind myself that this is 90 degrees, right? We have this is 51, and look at this. We have a straight line right here. Maybe I'll highlight it. We have a straight line right here. So in order to find this part of it, this part, I can do 180, since this is a straight line, this is a linear pair, right? Minus 90 minus 51. So let's do that. That is 39 degrees. That means this right here. All right, look at this right here. It is also 39 degrees. And now I can figure out this whole thing because I know this is 39 and this is 90 right here. So 39 plus 90. 39 plus 90. Oop, not 80, 90 is 129. So actually this whole thing is 129 degrees. Okay. And if I wanted to find this last part, let me do this. What color should I do this in? Right here. This is a straight line right here. Let me make a different highlighter color. We have a straight line right here. So you could do 180 minus 39, and that's actually 141. All right. So all going back to knowing the vocab words like we did at the beginning. All right. These words, right? Vertical angles, they're opposite, they're congruent. That means they're equal in measure. The adjacent angles, they share a common ray. All right. Complementary angles are adjacent angles that add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles are a linear pair are adjacent angles that add up to 180 degrees. So it's important you know these terms when you're filling out these diagrams. And the important numbers are, again, 90, 180. Those are probably the most important numbers when it comes to doing these problems. All right. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. And always remember, whether you're solving for X or Y, always give math a try.